The Successful Engineering Student, an engineering seminar. This seminar has 6 sections. Each section discusses a particular topic of interest to the prospective engineering student. The topics that have been chosen deal with the key factors that determine a student's progress and success throughout the undergraduate education. Keep in mind at all times which sections you are listening to and try to conceptualize or form a mental picture of the things that are being said. Section number 1. Factors affecting a student's progress and success. If your academic pursuits lie in the engineering disciplines, then you must be properly informed and well-oriented at the early stages of your studies if you are to become a successful student. There are at least 2 qualities that you must possess to be successful in an engineering program of study. First and foremost, you must have an inherent interest in technology and the study of technology. It is difficult for students to maintain momentum in an engineering program if their interests lie elsewhere. For example, take the case of the student who plans to use engineering as a background for law, medicine, or some other non-technical professional program at the graduate level. While this is invaluable, there is some concern for students of this type who may not have an inherent interest in technology. Secondly, any successful engineering student must be disciplined and well organized. The study of engineering is very demanding and time-consuming, and to be successful, one has to recognize what the priorities are and be willing to devote the many hours that are required. Motivation is also very important. You must be motivated to succeed. You must be motivated to become an engineer. Without motivation, your other efforts will prove to be futile. Another important regulating factor is the dedication to your established goals. If your goal is to become an engineer, then you must be prepared to work hard towards that goal. And always remember that a good positive attitude towards yourself and your goals is uplifting, since your progress and success through a rigorous engineering program will depend on the mental attitude you have towards engineering. Another factor affecting your progress and success as an engineering student is the social life. As an engineering student, you will find it harder than other students to balance your academic and social interests. For this reason, you must be self-disciplined. If you're not, you may find it difficult to make the proper balance. Being able to adjust to a different social environment is yet another factor that will contribute to your success in engineering. Thus, interest, discipline, motivation, dedication, and positive attitudes are the elements which in general regulate your progress and success in the engineering studies. Section number 2. Career demands and sacrifices. As a prospective engineering student, and during your first few years of studies, you must be informed of your existence as an engineering student at a college. You must be aware of your relationship to other students on a college campus. In other words, things you can expect to do, and things you will not have a chance to do if you are to be successful. You must be aware of the many demands and sacrifices which must be faced while in an engineering program. Engineering at times can be a frustrating program of study because it is the kind of academic program where it is absolutely essential that you keep up to date in the studies. In engineering schools, as opposed to say liberal arts schools, the coursework becomes interdependent. In other words, your doing well in one course may depend on how well you are doing in two other courses that you're taking simultaneously or have had previously. Engineering has a building block pattern to it, and therefore it is very important for you to recognize the interdependency of the coursework. It is absolutely essential for you to keep up to date in your studies and not allow yourself to slide a week or two behind the mathematics or physics or engineering sciences. If that happens, disaster is in the future. In the beginning, in terms of getting used to the workload, sacrificing the social life and extracurricular activities is almost a must. Engineering is very demanding, and to be successful, you have to sacrifice something, usually extracurricular activities and social life. However, a complete abstinence from extracurricular activities is not recommended, since these activities will also improve your overall education and how well-rounded a person you will be. Hence, a sharp decrease in social life and extracurricular activities can be expected if you plan to pursue an engineering education. This, of course, is accompanied by long hours of study. Section number 3. Benefits of the profession. As a student, you have to be fully aware of the benefits you are to reap from an engineering career. You must be able to see that your efforts are not in vain and are well worth the sacrifice. This point is perhaps the leading factor in maintaining your interest and devotion in engineering at a high level. This country, society, and the world in general is becoming much more technical in its orientation, and everything that we do as citizens is greatly affected by modern technology. Anybody who wishes to establish himself or herself in a position of prominence in this world has got to be able to work with and to some extent understand modern technology. And herein lies the basic value of an engineering education. It allows one to understand and interpret technology rather than to operate in a vacuum. So if you are one of those individuals who just wishes to have a fuller awareness of the forces that work within our society, a fuller appreciation of technology can be very important. An engineering education trains you to apply logical thought to problems in engineering, which can easily be carried over to solving problems in society. Engineers, by experience, end up in various types of high-paying jobs and professions such as management, politics, law, medicine, public administration, and in various related fields where training in analytical thought or logical thought is a great help. Therefore, an engineering career allows you to understand and interpret technology through analytical application of logical thought. It also provides you with a solid technical background and a firm training ground for other professional careers. Section number 4. Engineering, theory or practice. In the broadest sense, an engineer is an individual who understands fully within a particular field the physical laws of nature which apply to electricity, mechanics, structures, chemistry, etc. The engineer is able to take the physical laws and to some extent almost manipulate them, although not changing the basic principles that still apply. These laws are manipulated into some product, service, or device which is both efficient and economical, and hopefully as economical as possible. Therefore, in order to grasp the real concept of what an engineer is, you must recognize that an engineer is a problem solver who is well versed in any branch of engineering. Engineering is twofold: theoretical and practical, or applications oriented. This is a concept which is of immense importance, and yet few students are aware of it, even as college sophomores. The difference between an applications-oriented engineer and a theoretician is very subtle. The applications-oriented engineers are the type of individuals who want to see the fruits of their labor show up in hardware, in actual solutions to problems, or in production of devices. Theoreticians have a much higher interest in problems of a theoretical nature and are quite satisfied if they can prove just that a practical engineering solution exists without carrying it further. They then lose interest in problems beyond that point. In other words, they want to solve theoretical problems and then use applications-oriented engineers to apply the theories to solving more practical problems. Section number 5. Academic success. The College of Engineering at the school of your choice should explain to you how it is that you can become an effective engineering student academically. Study techniques should be explained with emphasis on problem solving, since this is where you should guide your energies and efforts. Through problem solving, you learn the techniques and principles involved in the studies. There are 3 basic things that you should incorporate in your study habits, and they are: number 1, studying in groups; number 2, always attending class; number 3, reviewing lecture notes, not just taking them, but rereading and trying to understand them. One of the most important things that you gain from being a student in the company of other students is the ability to solve problems, common problems regarding the studies. This seems to be a great help beyond just those things that you do when studying alone. In other words, working together on common problems can often save a great deal of time and aid considerably in understanding a technical subject. Going to class is very important in maintaining continuity in the course contents. You can skip class and copy someone else's lecture notes, but there are always things that a professor will say in class that will not be in anyone's notes, and being at the lectures and hearing these things can make a difference later on. When studying dense technical subjects, you should find an atmosphere which is conducive to study. In such an atmosphere, you should study every course for a short period of time every day. That is, consistently. Studying continually is more effective than studying without regularity, because you retain more of what you learn. Being a consistent worker and trying to get as many things done as soon as possible so that there isn't a buildup of work will prove to be very successful in terms of getting the work done. Thus, the question of academic success lies mainly with you, the individual. Reading a textbook or attending a lecture will only introduce you to the lessons, and by solving homework problems, you will learn each lesson taught in the classroom. Finally, always remember that you must study with a purpose or objective, and not just for the sake of studying. Section number 6, Planning Ahead. As an engineering student, you must plan your future so that at graduation you have gotten the utmost of your education. A very important question, and one that is often overlooked these days, is how can engineering students plan their future effectively? Although there are no set rules or guidelines for future planning, it is very helpful for one to consider certain indicators which can be used in preparing for an engineering career. These indicators and factors are now discussed. Students in engineering share much in common with students of any other academic program, in the sense that they feel they want to be where the action is going to be 4 or 5 years into the future. As a result, engineering students and engineering colleges to some extent have a tendency to promote and foster what they feel will be a merging field of technology and engineering. Take, for example, a couple of recent fields that have been very popular. Aerospace during the 60s, and during the early part of the 70s, environmental. Engineering employment, and therefore the demand for engineering curricula, tend to be a function of the demand for people with those skills in industry and in the government. This is why you have to look a bit longer down the road than just 4 or 5 years after you graduate from college. You have to think in terms of what kind of background, what kind of engineering degree, be it mechanical, electrical, civil, chemical, etc., will not only meet your basic interest, but also be in the greatest demand over the long run. Students are often guilty, without knowing it, by narrowing their opportunities by going into one of the new emerging fields in technology where the demand has yet to be proven. By so doing, they are limiting their employment opportunities in the future. And if things get soft in these areas, such as the recent demise of the aerospace industry, then people holding all their degree programs in that particular field find themselves in difficulty. They find that they are not able to translate their skills to some other kind of endeavor. For this reason, you should be a proponent of getting an undergraduate background in one of the classical fields of engineering, one of those fields that is time proven and has been around for years. We know, for example, that there will be a demand for good mechanical engineers or good electrical engineers because history has proven it so. However, we do not know if there will be employment for bioengineers or for environmental engineers. The demands for these individuals are too much at the fancy of the government, and whenever the federal government determines whether you are going to have a job or not, either explicitly or implicitly, you are in a tenuous situation. To aid you in planning a future, there are different types of information available. There are several agencies which produce different forecasts about the demand for engineers, and they try to even break it down further by identifying the fields of engineering and what the projected demand will be. The two most common sources are the Engineers Council for Professional Development and the Engineering Manpower Commission. Both of these agencies operate out of New York City from the United Engineering Center. It is the responsibility of these agencies to speak for the entire engineering profession, which is a very broad one. They also collate and distribute information backed up by fairly valid statistics regarding the supply and demand of engineers in different fields. The forecasts are based upon the best prognostication of what the economy is doing and how these people are going to find the employment market 3 or 4 years into the future. So, there is information available, but it may be difficult to obtain. Unfortunately, most engineering colleges and the faculty in engineering colleges are not perhaps tuned into what the demand cycle might be. They may be very much in touch with industry in a research sense or capability, but may not be aware of what the demand will be for individuals who have engineering degrees. Without that constant flow of information, you cannot expect the faculty in the engineering college to be a good source of guidance to students about where the jobs are going to be. Most of the placement offices in engineering colleges will try to make this kind of information available, but still, an awful lot is expected of the student, and they have to be their own best advocate in that sense. Some of the best sources of information are talking to upperclassmen and to people who have been in the field for a year or two. See what their opinions are. Talk to company recruiters. Read newspapers. Find out what is happening on a national scene. Inquire about the type of research that faculty members are doing, where their interests lie, and if there is a matching of their interests and yours. These factors are very important in being aware of which direction you are going into. Thus, for future planning, it is required that you have a considerable exposure to the many engineering disciplines at an early stage of your education, and later a more intense exposure within that discipline of your liking. You can receive the necessary exposure through friends, relatives, conferences, summer employment, or programs sponsored by the college, such as the Cooperative Education Program. The Cooperative Education Program, or Co-op program, is designed and conducted by the engineering colleges and industry to give an engineering student an opportunity for acquiring practical engineering knowledge during the period of their college training. The program serves the following purposes. Number one, it enables the student to apply academic knowledge to a real-life situation. Number two, it provides a source of future experienced full-time employee to the company. Number three, it aids the student financially. Number four, it provides temporary manpower assistance to the company. And number five, it gives both the student and the company an opportunity to evaluate each other. Finally, as you progress through an academic program, you must be aware that at the end of your junior or senior year, you will have to prepare a resume. A resume is an outline of your educational and employment experiences, your interests, and most important, your goals. In its most basic form, a resume will contain your name, address, date of birth, height, marital status, health conditions, citizenship, and geographical preference. You should also include your career objectives, scholarships and honors, all your work experience, and any original work that you have done. Personal interests, hobbies, and activities should end your resume. In short, your resume will let the prospective employer know who you are, what you know, what you have done, and finally, what you would like to do. Thus, after careful preparation, the resume will expose you to the world as an engineer. The author would like to thank the following individuals at Cornell University for their invaluable contribution to this seminar. Mr. David C. Johnson, Assistant Dean and Director of Engineering Student Personnel for the College of Engineering. Professor Henry S. McGowan, Member of the Electrical Engineering Faculty. Mr. Eugene Wilson, Director of the Engineering Minority Program. Mr. Mark Schwartz, Assistant Director of Engineering Admissions.